Hello.
Hello, let's see.
Hi.
Can you hear me?
Yeah. Welcome everybody. We are going to get started in just a couple of minutes. Everyone can mute themselves for now. We're going to be muted. Then we're going to do some introductions. We'll go around. Everyone can introduce themselves. There are about 20 people that signed up for this class, and I think there's only like 10 of you here now. So I'm just going to wait another 2 more minutes, see if some more people roll in. But when we do our introductions, you're going to be saying where you are, who you are, and maybe how you found out about the class. And we'll just go around and I'll call on you when we're ready. But yeah, like I said, I'm just going to give it another 2 minutes just to see if anybody else trickles in, and then we'll start making Spanakopita. If for some reason you couldn't find a certain ingredient and you have questions about substitutions, now is a great time to ask me about that. Oh, and I'm Gracie, by the way. So that means you all probably got everything you needed, which is great. Hello? Gloria?
Yes, hi.
Hi. Welcome. Did you have a substitution or anything that you wanted to ask a question about?
No.
Okay, great. Well, I think we should just go ahead and get started. Let's do some introductions. So yeah, just say who you are, where you are, how you found out about the class. And if you feel like adding any other special touches to your introduction, by all means, go ahead. And we'll start with you, Jacob.
Hello. Well, I'm happy to be here. I love I already forgot how to say it. Spanakopita.
Yeah, you got it.
And my name is Jacob Albritton. I'm here in Eugene, Oregon, and I found out about this class because I follow you on Instagram.
Sweet, great. Well, welcome. Nice to have you.
Thank you.
Gabe and Quinn.
Hi, my name is Gabe. This is Ruby, and this is Quinn over here. And we are in the Whitaker in Eugene, Oregon, and we found out about the class because Gracie's our neighbor. But also
Yes.
Instagram.
Awesome. Welcome. So good to see you guys. Linda, how about you? Nice to see you again. Oh, you got to unmute.
There, how's that?
Perfect.
This is Linda. I'm in Eugene, and I found out about the class because I was looking at the class schedule and saw it, and it was just too good to pass up.
Awesome. Well, I'm glad you're here and welcome. For those of you just joining in, we are just going around doing some introductions, saying who we are, where we are, and how we found out about the class. And while we do the introductions, I just ask that you all stay muted. And then when I call on you, we'll unmute just for being able to hear everybody. Myrna, nice to see you again. Welcome back. You're muted.
Sorry. Hi. Okay, Myrna Dorfman. I'm here in Eugene, and I also follow you on Instagram and found the class and did another class, which was a huge success. So I'm back for the second.
Awesome. Good to see you again. And Camille,
See you.
Nice to see you again too. Camille, you want to unmute and intro?
Yes. Hello, I'm Camille. I am in Eugene, Oregon also, and I've taken multiple classes from Gracie, and I'm back.
Heck yeah, welcome back. Yeah, lots of familiar faces tonight, a few new ones. How about you, Melissa? Nice to see you again.
Hi, I'm also in Eugene, and I've taken your classes before and love them. And I was kind of forgetting to check the schedule until Linda reminded me, and Linda's my neighbor. And so yeah, super excited to make Spanakopita.
Great, welcome. Nice to see you again. Tina,
Okay. So my name is Tina. I'm from Eugene, and this is my second class with you. The first one was the Cacheo e Pepe, so that was a fun class. So I'm back again, learning something new. And I follow you on Instagram, so that's how I've been updated with your classes.
Excellent. Welcome back, Tina. Nice to see you again.
Yeah.
And I see you chopping away at your spinach.
Sorry, I didn't realize you could see that. I'm Ann. I'm in Novato, and I know about this class because I know your parents. And I'm 70 years old, and I've always wanted to make Spanakopita, so here I am.
Awesome. Welcome, Ann. Yeah, my parents are like my #1 marketers. They really like to tell people.
They are.
I'm very grateful. Welcome.
Nice to meet you, Gracie.
Nice to meet you too, Ann. Gloria.
Hi, my name is Gloria. I am originally from Austin, Texas. I moved to Eugene about 5 years ago, and I heard about this class through Instagram.
Awesome. Welcome, Gloria. It's quite different than Texas here. Donnie.
Hi, my name's Donnie. I'm in Eugene, and I follow you on Facebook, and that's how I seen about this class. So I couldn't pass it up.
Great, welcome. Ashley.
Hello. We are getting back to the kitchen, but my name's Ashley. I'll be cooking with my boyfriend Austin. And I found out about you guys through like the Urban Farm. I think there was a post that was interacted with, and I found yours kind of interesting. So that's why I signed up.
Awesome. Love that. The Urban Farm is, I traced the beginning of my cooking career back to the U of O Urban Farm. So that's great to hear. Michelle.
Hi, I'm Michelle, and I live in Chicago, and I'm actually your cousin Carla's best friend.
Yes, love that. Welcome.
I just wanted to learn how to cook the Spanakopita, and that's awesome. So yes, I'm looking very forward to it.
I love to hear that. Chicago in the house. Welcome, Michelle. All right, guys. Well, some of you, this is your first time cooking with me virtually. If you can put your camera on, that is ideal, because the way that I know you're keeping up is I'm going to check in with you over the course of the class and be like, hey, how's it going in your kitchen? And if you're cooking right along with me, everything's going good, you give me a thumbs up. If you're a little bit behind, but you can hear the next set of instructions without getting stressed out, you give me a thumbs sideways. And if you're falling behind and you need me to slow down, just give me a thumbs down. And there's no shame in that. I really want to set a comfortable pace so nobody's like scrambling around their kitchen or cutting themselves or burning themselves. Let's keep it.
Excuse me, Gracie.
Yeah.
I'm not seeing you. I'm not seeing you on my screen at all.
Okay, so you must be on maybe speaker view, or if you go up in the top button, the top right corner of your screen there's a view button. And
correct.
If you click on speaker, it should highlight me or whoever's talking.
That's where I am.
Okay, try gallery view. That'll show you everybody.
And then I have to scroll through to find you, correct? Correct.
Well, are you on a phone?
Nope, I'm on a Google Nest. It was working fine when we first started, and then for some reason now, when people started introducing, I was getting black screens.
Okay, well, let's try this. I'm going to be spotlighting my screen for everybody, so I should show up really big for everyone. Can you see me now?
Nope, black screen.
You're having tech problems, and I'm not sure what that is.
I'm going to go back. Can I go out and I'll just come back in?
Yeah, I recommend leaving and coming back.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm spotlighted, so you guys should all be able to see me, pretty big view into my kitchen. And if you prefer to look into everyone's kitchen to see what they're up to, you just go to that top right corner, click the view button and go to gallery, and you can see what everyone's doing. And yeah, without further ado, we're probably going to get started here. But before we start, I just want to make sure it's okay with everybody. I'm recording this class so I can share this class recording with people who want to learn this later down the road. Is that okay with everyone? Everyone okay to be a part of the recording? Is anyone not okay to be a part of the recording? Okay, we're good. We're going to get started. Great. So did everybody get their oven preheated to 375? If not, you can just take a second right now, preheat that oven. Awesome, looking good. How about your spinach? Did you get your spinach chopped up? I know some people are still doing a little last minute chopping. Awesome, good. Okay, I'm gonna let Myrna back in and hope that her tech problems are resolved. And then we'll start cooking. How about now, Myrna? Can you see me? You good? Great. Okay, let's do it. So we're going to start by doing what we call in the restaurant industry mise en place, which just means doing all of your prep work so that when it's time to cook, everything's ready. You're not running between chopping things, mixing things. We're just going to be cutting everything up right now. So everyone should have a nice big bowl of chopped spinach. This is what mine looks like for context. It's not super duper fine, but it's like a nice rough chop there. And I used a mixture of spinach and I had a bunch of radishes in my fridge. So I threw the tops of the radishes in there too. This is a really good recipe for any sort of weird green. Even like the leaves on a broccoli plant that you might not normally eat are going to be really good in Spanakopita. A good mixture of greens is the way to go. So let's start by just juicing all our lemons. So we just want to juice our lemons. We're going to need a total of a half cup of lemon juice for this recipe. So I just juice my lemons and then strain the juice so there's no seeds. Make sure you get a half cup of juice. And this recipe for Spanakopita, my friend Gloria taught me, and I think Melissa's also friends with Gloria. I love Mediterranean food. I love Greek food. And I always used to order Spanakopita at a restaurant that I grew up eating at that was down the street from my house. And I made it with the woman who owned that restaurant. And her recipe requires that you cook the spinach first, and then you strain all the liquid out of it. And that is a really good way to do it too, but I found it to be really labor intensive and you're using a lot more pots and pans. In this recipe, we're gonna just be massaging the spinach. We're not gonna cook it at all, which is why it's kind of important that the greens aren't super wet when we're using them. They're already dried off because we don't wanna have excess moisture that'll make them soggy. But it's pretty fun to just massage them down instead of cooking them. And I think it gives them almost a better texture in the finished product. So that's a patented Gloria technique. All right. See where I'm at with lemon juice. Yeah, I just juiced about half a cup. How's it going for all you guys out there? All you juicers. About there. We're almost there, not quite. No rush. And yeah, this is probably my third month now of offering one free community class every month. And you guys are, as you know, taking the free class. And just so you know, going forward, if you ever see a class, oh yeah, Melissa, do you have a question?
I was just gonna say, when I registered for it, it has like the, you can leave some money if you want to, and I tried to do that, and I just kept on getting like an error, so I didn't.
Oh, thank you for that feedback. I've been having
other people have found that as well. You might want to check that out because I'd love to kick some money your way.
Oh yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, I can't at this point. I'm becoming a nonprofit. So I'm not yet a nonprofit, so I cannot receive donations from individuals. But if you ever feel like, oh man, that was great, I want to support the cooking school, you can buy a gift card and give it to someone else. And that is a great way to do that. That sort of also helps me get new people into the classes. But yeah, at this point, I can't take any payment for this class, though I very much appreciate the sentiment. So I'm just going to go ahead and strain my lemon juice right now. Make sure there's no seeds in it.
Gracie, you said that these are being recorded, or it says it's being recorded.
Yeah.
So do you replay them or have access to them, or is it for your library?
So I will, at the end of this class, email you all a little survey about how you felt the class went, or if you have any feedback for me. And in that, attached to that survey will be a link to the recording of this class, so that you'll always have access to it forever. If you're ever like, oh, I want to make that again, but I don't quite remember how to do it, you'll always have access to this recording. And then I have a Patreon, which is like a monthly subscription to the cooking school. And members of my Patreon get access to all my class recordings, so that if they ever want to take a class that they couldn't participate in, their schedule was off, they can go watch the recording. So that's how.
And where is that information on joining that?
I will send it in the link after class. Yeah, I'll send you a link for it. It's on my website too. How's the lemon juicing going? We got our juice lemons. Awesome. Is anybody? No, looks like we're all good. Okay, great. So we juiced our lemons. Let's go ahead. We're gonna finely dice our onion. Everybody should have one small onion. My onion, I'm noticing, is sprouting. It has like a little green in the center of it. I'm just going to pull that out and get rid of it, because sometimes it can have a really kind of bitter or pungent taste. And sometimes you see that this time of year. So I'm just going to pull that little sprout out of my onion, but then we're going for a nice fine dice. So I'll show you, if you want to see my dicing technique, pull you guys a little closer here. Very high tech over here, just scooting my table. So the way I've cut my onion, I cut it in half like this, so the root is still intact, kind of holding each half together. And then I make really thin incisions, probably like 1/4 of an inch. And I'm going almost all the way through the onion, but I'm allowing that root end to kind of hold everything together for me. So I'll show you what that looks like when I finish up here. Looks like this. So the root is still holding the onion together, but I've cut these like thin slits in the onion. And then I just give it a 90-degree turn, and I'm just going to dice it nice and fine. So my ideal piece of onion is about this big. It's tiny. If you can't get it that tiny while you're dicing it, you can just run your knife through your diced onions a couple times when you finish. But dicing the onions fine is important, because we're going to mix them in with the spinach, and they don't cook that much in the process because they're inside the Spanakopita. So we want them to be pretty small. Now, I've taught this class before, and I've made this recipe many times. And I would say the only thing that can really mess it up is there's too much moisture in the spinach, or your phyllo dough is dried out for some reason. Like one time I was teaching it to a friend who's in grad school, and she was just too busy, and she got her phyllo dough out. It was still frozen, and she put it on top of her like heater, and it just totally dried it out. And when she was folding the Spanakopita, the phyllo was just falling apart. So proper thawing of the phyllo is an important part of the process. Otherwise, it's a really cool, versatile, and very forgiving recipe. If you wanted to make it vegan, you can use tofu instead of the feta cheese, and it gives it like a nice fluffy texture. You just want to add a little extra salt because feta, as you all probably know, brings a lot of salt to the table. Yeah, and you can also really add in whatever greens you like, whatever, you can add a huge variety of greens. Beet greens and radish tops, turnip greens, chard, kale, spinach.
One of my favorites is nettle.
Ooh. I've never done that. That sounds so good. Love it.
Gracie,
Yeah.
do you have tips for cutting onions so you don't cry?
Okay, I've learned a few things about this. And one of them is to peel it and cut it in half a while before you're going to dice it. It's gonna off gas the chemical that makes your eyes burn. So that's part of the reason I have you guys peel the onion before class. But if it only happened like right before class, it'll still have that. The other main one that I've found is just ventilation. Ventilation really helps. Just like cook next to your hood fan or by an open window, and that circulation will help keep that chemical from hitting your eyeballs.
I have found cold water. Rinsing it under cold water helps me.
Oh, I've never done that one before. Yeah, and then I've also noticed that my friends who are cooks that wear glasses or contacts have a much better time of it because there's just something kind of protecting their eye. How's the onion dicing going? Everybody done? Just about there. We're just about there. We'll give it just one more minute. I'm going to have a sip of water. And the onions, the finished diced onion can go right on top of your spinach. You can just set the diced onions right on your spinach. The next thing we're going to do when you're ready is we're going to be chopping our dill. So everybody should have a little bit of dill. Nice little bunch of dill. This is one of my favorite smells, dill. I love it. So we're going to be finely chopping this up. This is not going to go in our spanakopita. This is going in our yogurt sauce. We need about a half cup of finely diced dill. If you have extra dill after you finish setting aside the half cup of chopped dill for your yogurt sauce, you can put the extra right into your spanakopita, as long as you love the flavor of dill. If you're for some reason dill averse or you just don't want too much dill, you can discard the rest. And what I'll usually end up doing is dicing the fronds, the like tender leaf of the dill for the yogurt sauce, and then adding the finely chopped dill stem to my spanakopita, just so I don't waste anything at all. So I'm going to set aside some dill in just a little bowl for my yogurt sauce.
How much dill did you say we need?
A half of a cup for the yogurt sauce.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you use the entire plant?
Yeah, I use the whole thing. So I'm just putting I chopped up the fronds, the leaves for the yogurt sauce, and the stems, I'm really finely chopping those, and I'm going to put them in with the spinach for the spanakopita. Mint also really works well for this recipe. If you like mint better than dill, especially in that yogurt sauce, the mint is so refreshing. In the summertime, I'll often use mint instead of the dill, but I love the dill with the yogurt. So let me know when you are done chopping up your dill. Nice. And you're moving and shaking over there. We're not going to move on yet because a lot of you are still deep in the dill. All right, are we done dill chopping? Almost? Okay, we're almost there. We're getting close. If you're done, you can just tidy up your kitchen a little bit or pour yourself a glass of wine. You'll notice I'm going to be big on cleaning as we go. I think that's one of the keys to enjoying cooking is just like integrating dishwashing into the process so that you don't end up with this like massive pile of dishes at the end of the night. Unless you have somebody around that loves to do your dishes for you, then by all means, just leave them. Lucky you. All right. The next thing we're going to do is chop our parsley. And with this, I have like a huge bunch of parsley here. And I'm just going to chop up the entire thing. As long as it's clean, I'm going to chop up all of it. The stems, the leaves, everything finely chopped is going to get added in with our spinach. So that restaurant I was talking about where I first ate Spanakopita, that was around the corner from where I grew up, the woman who owned it, her name was Hilda. And like I said, I started cooking because of the U of O urban farm. I went to school at U of O in my freshman year. I took the urban farm class and I had never had like fresh vegetables right off of a plant before. And it just really blew my mind. And so that summer when I went home to stay with my family, I went to that restaurant to learn from Hilda. And she uses so much parsley in her food. So whenever I'm chopping parsley, I think about her because that smell is just, it was one of the first things she had me do was just chop up like 8 bunches of parsley for tabbouleh. It was something I'd never cooked with before or even thought about. But it's just so fresh and vibrant, so good for you. I feel like it's a really underappreciated herb. So we're just going to be finely chopping up all this parsley and the stems, the whole shebang.
It's easy to grow too, especially here. I'm sure other places, but yeah, it grows like crazy.
I know. Yeah, I have a patch in my backyard that's like a parsley forest. It's so awesome. And even though it got hit pretty hard with the frost last week, it's still growing. It's like it's like grows year round here. And if you don't love parsley and you're like, right now, this is a really good recipe if you like have a CSA that gives you a bunch of parsley and you're like, I don't know what to do with all this parsley. This recipe is, you can put as much parsley as you want in this recipe and you will not, I feel like you'll taste it, but it's not going to be overpowering in any kind of way.
So Gracie, I'm a little nervous that I didn't get my spinach all the way dry.
Okay.
I mean, I chopped it probably an hour and a half to 2 hours before, or I washed it and chopped it 2 hours before the class. So I'm hoping it dried out.
Yeah. You know, sometimes what I usually do for the next time, and you'll find out this time, and if it's an issue, it's still going to be really delicious. It just won't be quite as crunchy. Next time, what I like to do is before I chop it, I just get a clean kitchen towel and just kind of scrunch it up and like just rub it in the kitchen towel, because it's like it's all going to get chopped and smushed anyway. So you don't have to worry too much about crumpling it. And I just like, yeah, I use a towel to just like kind of wring it out.
That makes sense. Thank you for that tip.
No problem. How's everybody doing on the parsley train? Nice, nice. We're getting there. We're looking good. We're like 80% there. If you're ready to move on, the next move is going to be the green onions that you should have, a bunch of green onions, and we're going to use the whole thing. If there's any like manky leaves that are like kind of soggy or brown or like flimsy looking, like this guy has one that's just like, well, I'm sad. I'm just going to pull that off and get rid of it. But and if it's brown or dried out around the ends, you can trim that off and get rid of it. But otherwise, we're going to finely chop the whole thing, greens and whites, and it'll go in with your spinach.
Gracie, all the parsley goes in spinach, correct?
All of it. All of it goes in the spinach. Should be like, I don't know, mine ended up being like probably 3 cups of parsley. It doesn't have to be that much. It's like I said, it's a very flexible recipe, but put it all in there.
Parsley in the spinach?
Parsley in the spinach.
Okay, cool.
Yes. My favorite thing about the cooking school is that I get to hire other people to teach cooking classes. So if any of you like to teach or share or have a great recipe that you want to share, you are welcome to email me about it. Or if you know someone who you're like, you know, Sarah just makes the best lamb curry or something like that, feel free to spread the word. I'm always looking for new teachers. That is the most exciting part of this for me, is when I get to learn more. Now
I have a question.
Oh yeah.
I was just gonna say, are you like finely slicing them and then further mincing them, or are you just like slicing them as thinly as you can?
I'm just slicing them thin. They look like this, and then I'll put them in.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not gonna go back through. They'll kind of, looks like somebody got kicked out and is coming back. And yeah, the green onions can go in with the spinach as well.
Definitely.
Ashley, did we lose you?
Oh, yeah, you lost me for a moment, but now I'm back on a different device.
Okay, we're just slicing up our green onions.
Right there with you.
Awesome. So yeah, this you'll notice we've got quite a bit going on in our bowl. It's a lot of stuff, and we're going to be making quite a bit of spanakopita. I think I might have sent this in an email to you guys, but the recipe size is based off of trying to use the whole package of phyllo dough so that we don't waste any of it. So you're going to have a lot of spanakopita, and I will talk to you a lot about how to store it if you're not going to cook it all tonight. I'll probably bake all of mine off tonight because I weirdly love it cold the next day. It's just like one of my favorite things. Or you can always if you bake them off tonight, you can put it in the toaster or a toaster oven, and it'll just re-crisp up for you, or the oven. But we can also freeze. If you don't want to bake it all tonight, we can freeze some, and I'll talk to you about how to do that.
Spinach bowl is really full with a pound and a half. I mean, I have a really big bowl, and it's like.
I know. Mine too.
It'll go down, right?
Oh yeah,
so
it's gonna go. Yeah, we're gonna be massaging it with the eggs, and then we'll add in our feta, and you'll see it, and lemon juice. It'll go way, way down, probably reduce by about half in size. All right, I'm just finishing up my green onions. How are you guys doing? Oh yeah, Gloria.
What should we have in our bowls right now with the spinach?
Yeah, so in with the spinach should be the parsley, the diced onion, the green onion, and then if you added any extra dill, if you had leftover dill after the half a cup that we set aside for our yogurt sauce, you want that in there too. Everybody got that in there? Awesome. All right, I think everybody's working on their green onions right now. I'm just going to do a couple dishes, and then I'll give you your next instruction.
I had probably like half a cup of dill left. Is that too much dill to go into the spinach bowl? What's your
No,
opinion?
I mean, unless you are sensitive to the flavor or don't like the flavor. Otherwise, I mean, you could put like 2 cups of chopped dill in there as far as I'm concerned. Like, I think it's really tasty in there.
Yeah, I'm a fan of dill, so I was
Okay,
just
you're
making
gonna
sure.
love it.
Okay, good.
And like many of you guys said, when I was asking you how you found the class, I would say like 90% of you said Instagram. So if you're like, wow, that was a great experience, that was cool, just like sharing about your experience on Instagram is a huge way that I promote the cooking school. It's awesome. So if you take a picture today, I feel so weird like asking people to do this. It feels very cheesy, but if you take a picture of your food and you want to share and tag the cooking school, it really actually does amazing things for my business, and it's awesome. All right, is everybody ready for our next instruction? Okay, we're gonna just be mincing all our garlic. You should have quite a bit of peeled garlic ready. Hopefully like a whole head of peeled garlic, maybe. Maybe people didn't get a chance to peel it ahead of time. But we're gonna finely mince all of it, and it's gonna go in with our spinach. You couldn't have too much garlic, in my opinion. So yeah, we're just gonna mince all the garlic that we have and add it in with the spinach.
Okay, what I'm worried about is, do I have enough garlic?
You can peel more if you want. It's not going to hurt.
Okay.
Also, it's green garlic season. I don't know how many of you guys have ever cooked with green garlic before. It's really cool. I got some at the farmer's market today. I'll show it to you. So it looks a lot like a green onion. A little tougher, more kind of leek texture, and it's just the garlic before it turns into a bulb. They pull it out of the ground earlier, and it has like a much brighter, fresher flavor than garlic, a little less pungent, a little more sweet. And if you ever find some of this chopped up in your spanakopita will be awesome. I'm saving mine because I want to use it to make a little green garlic pesto. But if you find some or you have some around, will also be really good in Spanakopita. Green garlic is like the very first crop of the early spring. It's that like first sign that spring is on its way. It's one of my favorite. I used to think like, why are people pulling their garlic out of the ground before it's ready? That's so impatient. Just like wait for it. And now every year I'm like, where's the green garlic? I want it, because I've come to really just love the flavor of it and what it signifies too. So I'm probably going to end up with like close to a half of a cup, maybe a little more, almost 3/4 of a cup of minced garlic. I'm just remembering right now that I also want to put a little bit of garlic into our yogurt sauce. So if it's not too late, just set aside maybe 2 teaspoons worth of the minced garlic for our yogurt sauce. Sorry about that. I got carried away. Excited about the garlic, talking about green garlic. So just set aside 2 teaspoons worth of minced garlic for our yogurt sauce. And I'm pretty finely mincing the garlic, but you don't have to go too crazy. This is what mine's looking like. But if it's a little chunkier than that, that's okay. And all but the 2 teaspoons you set aside for yogurt sauce is going to go right into your spinach bowl with all the other stuff. If you already put it in your spinach bowl before I told you about the yogurt sauce, you can just peel another clove of garlic and set it aside for the yogurt sauce. Can't have too much garlic right now. So good for the immune system. And once you finish your garlic mincing, we are done doing our mise en place. So you can tidy up, do a couple dishes, get your work surface clean.
Okay, I have a question. Does the parsley go with the spinach mix, and also do the stems of the parsley go in the spinach mix?
Yes and yes.
Sweet.
Just make sure those stems are nice and finely chopped up. Awesome.
do we need our chopping board any longer?
Nope.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, you can clean your cutting board. I'm just gonna wipe off my chopping block here. You've done all the hard stuff. Now it's time for the fun stuff.
Should we be melting our butter or is that still to come?
It's still to come. It's coming
Okay.
soon. If you want to do it now, you can.
I just wasn't sure if I had if it was already supposed to be pre-melted.
Oh, no, don't worry about it. You're good to go. But we'll do it next. Why not? Now that you mention it. I mean, we can melt our butter next. So yeah, as you find yourself feeling kind of good and tidy in the kitchen, got a nice clean work surface, your garlic's all minced up, we're gonna go ahead and melt 1 stick of butter. You might not use all of it, but you might use all of it. That's my challenge to you today, would be to use all of it. But
Are we using a large board for the dough, or are we just doing that on the pan?
for folding the spanakopita, I'm going to use my work surface here. So you can just use a countertop. You can use a countertop, a clean countertop, or if you have a nice big cutting board, you could use a nice big cutting board for the folding of the spanakopita. So I'm just melting my stick of butter in a pot on the stove on like a low heat, because we won't need it yet. We're not going to need it probably for another 15 minutes. So. And then once you do have your butter on the stove, when your butter's on the stove and your kitchen is clean, just give me a thumbs up. Nice. A couple of you are there, a couple people. All right. Nice, nice. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I just have my butter on a nice low heat. I don't want to burn the butter. I just want it to melt slowly.
What was the last thing after you said melting the butter that my screen glitched?
Oh, all I said was we're just waiting for everybody to be on the same page with the melting the butter. So you didn't miss anything. I just said it's on a low heat, or yeah, you did it in your microwave. You're good to go. The next thing we're going to do is make our yogurt sauce real quick, just so that's all good to go and ready. And after we make our yogurt sauce, then we'll just be in the land of Spanakopita for a while, folding and baking and brushing with butter.
Mom, do you have a brush?
So yeah, give me a thumbs up when you are ready to make yogurt sauce. Awesome. Linda, how you doing over there? You good? Ashley, how you doing over there? You're almost there. Almost there. Cool. We'll just wait a sec. But if you want, you can get a small bowl, a small mixing bowl out. And we're going to make enough sauce for all this Spanakopita. So if you have extra, it'll stay good in the fridge for about a week. If you think you're only going to bake off about half the Spanakopita tonight and you're going to save the rest in the freezer, you can cut this recipe in half if you want.
Gracie, the sauce can't be frozen, can it?
I've never done that before.
Probably not with the yogurt.
I think it might get a weird texture.
Yeah. Okay, thanks.
Yeah. So I think we'll go ahead and make the yogurt sauce. I think we're all ready. Anybody not ready for this? Okay, so we're gonna start by putting a half a cup of tahini in our bowl. I'm kind of eyeballing it. But, I love tahini. And then you can just give me a thumbs up once you got a half cup of tahini in the bowl. And you know, tahini can be really variable. Sometimes it's very hard and chunky. Sometimes it's very loose and liquidy. That's why I always like to do this part first. We're going to kind of soften the tahini with lemon juice so that it becomes very liquidy and dissolves easily into the yogurt. Just in case you ended up with real clumpy, chunky tahini.
I didn't ask this earlier, but what would be a substitute for tahini?
You could always leave it out, honestly, of this recipe, and the yogurt sauce will be really good. I don't know. I feel like a lot of other nut butters are a little too sweet. So potentially you could use like a sunflower seed butter, I would say would be the closest thing, but then I would cut down on the honey that we add, or just like add the honey to taste, because sometimes those can be really, really sweet. Tahini I add for the bitterness and the richness. It makes things really rich.
Thank you.
Yeah. Everybody got a half cup of tahini in their bowl? All right, then we're going to add a 1/4 cup of lemon juice. So half of the lemon juice that we juiced earlier. Quarter cup of lemon juice. And then we're going to add 2 tablespoons of honey, 2 tablespoons of honey. And then we're going to whisk that up really well because we want the honey and the tahini to be fully dissolved by the lemon juice so that they're nice and liquidy.
How much honey was it?
2 tablespoons.
Okay.
So hopefully if your tahini was really clumpy, chunky, this will help make it more of a smooth texture. Just a little recap in case maybe you've fallen behind. In our bowl, we got a half cup of tahini with a 1/4 cup of lemon juice and 2 tablespoons of honey. And while I was instructing you to set garlic aside, I just went ahead and put all my garlic in with my spinach. So I'm just peeling a little extra clove of garlic. You can put the garlic you set aside into your yogurt sauce right now. One of my favorite ways to do this, since I'm using a whole clove of garlic now, is I like to use this microplane grater to grate the garlic in. If you already minced it up, it's fine, it's good to go. But in the future, if you're ever making a salad dressing or a sauce that you want raw garlic in, this tool is like, this is what I buy people for Christmas. I love the microplane. I love grating garlic into things for marinades for meat, aioli. I use it all the time for garlic. So, hot tip.
So Gracie, I messed up and put more lemon juice than I intended on putting. I put a third of lemon juice in there instead of a quarter. I picked up the wrong measuring cup.
Well, it's
Any tips on what I should do?
I think you're fine. When we
Okay.
finish the sauce and you taste it, let me know if you have an issue with it, but it'll probably just be nice and tangy and delicious.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, but if there is an issue with it, we can add a little more tahini, or we can add a little more olive oil to cut some of the acidity.
Gotcha. Thank you.
So give me a thumbs up when you have tahini, lemon juice, honey, and garlic in your bowl. Okay, great. The next thing we're going to add is 2 cups of yogurt. And that dill, the dill that you set aside. And then you're just going to mix it up really well and add your salt and pepper to taste. So it was 2 cups of yogurt, all that dill that we set aside, should be about a 1/2 cup of finely chopped dill. Everybody keep an eye on their butter. If your butter's on the stove, I don't want it to burn or anything. So don't forget your butter. So yeah, once you mix in your 2 cups of yogurt and your dill, then your job is just to taste it and adjust it to your palate. So you can add more honey, you can add more lemon juice, you could add cayenne pepper or hot sauce or harissa if you want. You can add salt and black pepper. Just steer it in the direction that you want it to go in. I'm going to add some salt, and I think I'm going to add a little bit of sumac, which is one of my favorite spices. I just really like this. This would be really good on falafel. This would also be really good on grilled lamb or grilled eggplant or roasted carrots, in case you end up with extra sauce that you need to use. Fish, grilled fish, salmon. So yeah, stir it up. Let me know, unmute and talk to me if for some reason you're like, ew, I don't like this. I don't like it at all. I'm happy to work with you to make it good for you.
It tastes a little sweet to me.
Okay, a little too much honey for you. Then a little bit more lemon juice will help sort of balance that out. And even a touch more of the tahini. Although taste your tahini, maybe you have a sweeter tahini. But the bitterness of the tahini and the acidity of the lemon juice should cut that.
Yeah, it's a no sugar tahini.
Okay. Yeah, a little more tahini and a little lemon juice ought to cut that sweetness for you. Anybody else need any palate guidance?
I think it's yummy. It's perfect for me.
Oh, great. All right, and once it's good, you can set it aside. If you want, you can put it in the fridge for now. And then we'll be getting ready to finish our Spanakopita. So we're going to go ahead and put everything away. The tahini, the yogurt. Make sure your butter, if it's on the stove, is turned off. Should be melted by now.
I'm not sure if it's because I didn't have fresh dill. I had to use like dried dill, that it just doesn't have a very strong flavor. I guess.
Dried dill will not get you where you need to go on this one.
Okay. I didn't think so, but I couldn't find, like when I went to the store, they were all out and I didn't have time to go to another store. So I just grabbed what I could, but that's what I was thinking.
If you can like reach into your pile of spinach and if you can find some of the parsley to throw in there, you'll get a little bit of a fresh herb taste to it. Or if you want to swing it in a slightly different direction and put, if you have any harissa paste or hot sauce or something, it could have, or smoked paprika, you can kind of have it a more peppery sauce for the Spanakopita. But yeah, dried dill is a hard one because it doesn't, unless you cook it and heat it up somehow, it's not going to impart hardly any flavor.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Getting ready for the best part of the class. The moment you've all been waiting for. The actual making of the Spanakopita. So there are a couple of things we're going to need before we make our Spanakopita. First of all, I know we already talked about this, but I need everyone to double check that their oven is preheated to 375. Then you're going to need a sheet tray and you want to line it with parchment paper. We'll probably use 2 actually. So if you want to line 2 sheet trays with parchment paper.
Can you use the silicone mats as well?
Sure, yeah.
Would you?
Totally. That'll work just fine. I like parchment paper because it saves on dishes. The silicone mats, you got to wash them, but it's less wasteful to use the silicone mats for sure. Now, if you're not planning on baking all the Spanakopita tonight, you'll want to make some room in your freezer for a sheet tray lined with parchment. Because you'll freeze them on the sheet tray with the parchment. And then once they're frozen solid, you can move them into a bag or container. Now, if you are planning on baking, oh, we lost Jacob. There he is. If you are planning on baking, you want to brush the parchment with a little bit of butter. You can use your pastry brush to just lightly brush the whole piece of parchment with butter, just so it gets nice and crispy on the bottom.
I lost connection. Can you catch me up?
Yeah, so we're just lining 2 sheet trays with parchment. And then if you're not planning to bake all the Spanakopita tonight, you want to fit one of these sheet trays in your freezer.
Okay.
If you're gonna bake them all, you want to brush the parchment with butter. So
Gotcha.
Yeah, if you're planning to bake tonight on a sheet tray, you want it to be brushed lightly with butter, not a ton of butter, just a light brushing of butter to keep the Spanakopita from sticking. Now, like I said, the only thing that can really go wrong with this recipe is the phyllo dough being too dry and cracking. So one of the ways I prevent that from happening is that I get a nice clean kitchen towel and I get it wet and then I fully wring it out. And when we lay our phyllo pastry out, we'll keep a nice damp towel on top of it so it doesn't dry out while we're making the spanakopita. So you want to get a nice clean kitchen towel, get it damp, and then wring it out fully. You don't want it soaking wet. You just want it to have moisture in it. All right. Now we're going to finish our filling. Everybody ready to finish the filling? You're going to want to get another nice big bowl. And in this big bowl, we're going to crack 2 eggs. Cracking 2 eggs in the big bowl. And then we're going to be adding 2 teaspoons each of salt and cracked pepper. 2 teaspoons of salt and 2 teaspoons of freshly cracked pepper. You can really go to town with the cracked pepper. I like a lot of pepper in mine. You don't have to measure it either. You can kind of eyeball it. Now, if you want any other seasonings in your spanakopita, now's a great time to add them. I'm going to keep mine very straightforward tonight, classic, but if you like cumin or coriander or fennel or sumac, cayenne, you know, if you
What are your opinions on nutmeg?
You could do it. I wouldn't be heavy-handed with it, but nutmeg tends to be good in kind of things that have a richness like the feta. So, and all the onions and greens, I don't think it would be offensive. I think it would be unique. I might not do it for all the filling. I might like make half your spanakopita regular and then add it to the rest, just in case you don't like it.
Sorry, I missed after the the 2 eggs. What went in after that?
2 teaspoons of salt and 2 teaspoons of freshly cracked pepper.
Oh, thank you.
And then we're just going to whisk it really, really, really well. You want to whisk them up well. I'm just going for it with the pepper here. So give me a thumbs up when your eggs are whisked. Awesome, awesome. Okay, now the move here is going to be, we're going to be adding our spinach filling into this, but not all at once because it won't fit probably. So just grab a couple handfuls, whatever will fit easily into the bowl without, because we're going to be working it with our hands, massaging it down, squeezing it in between our hands so that it kind of decreases in volume a little bit. So you want to add just a little bit at a time so that you don't overflow and make a huge mess. And like I said, take a good look at it now. We want it to reduce in volume by about half. So once you've massaged some of it down a little bit, you can go ahead and reach for more. Massage it down. This is one of those moments in cooking where you get to get out any of your feelings that you've had about your day. If you're angry at someone, or if you're thinking about how much you love the people you're cooking for, any of those feelings, this is a good time to sort of infuse the food with it. One thing that Hilda taught me, I just have such a vivid memory of her telling me that the health inspectors didn't want her to touch her food, that they wanted her to wear gloves whenever she cooked anything, and she refused because she said, if I don't touch it, it's not my food. So I'm one to always get my hands in things. I love stuff like this. And if you don't, I'm sorry for making you do this. But it should smell really good, garlicky, herby, super fresh. And the spinach almost goes from looking raw to cooked. It loses that sort of matte green finish. And as it gets coated in the egg, it gets kind of glossy. And as you massage it, it should turn like a nice darker color of green. We're breaking down those cell membranes with our hands. And you just want to keep going until you've incorporated all of the spinach and everything, the green onions, the parsley, the dill. You want it all to be really well mixed up. This is one that kids really like to do too. Is Quinn getting his hands in the spinach there, Gabe? Oh, I can't hear you guys for some reason. You got me thumbs up. Good job. All right, should be about done, and I'll show you what mine's looking like. Once I clean my slimy spinach hands off. So it almost looks like it's cooked. I don't know if you guys can see that. All mixed up. And I want to get all my spinach in there. And then you can go ahead and wash your hands. Clean up if you got any spinach spillover.
Gracie, was the rest of the lemon juice supposed to go in this too?
It will, not yet though.
Oh, okay, good. All of a sudden I was like, what about this lemon juice? Oh no.
Don't worry, I got you. We're going to be adding all of our feta next, and we'll also be adding our lemon juice in at the end. So you should have about a pound of feta. If you have any brine on your feta, you can go ahead and pour that off. You can strain it off. And just crumble all that feta in there.
Gracie, is there a really big difference between Israeli feta and, I mean, the different fetas that are out there? I mean, do they taste very different?
Absolutely. Absolutely. You're going to see a huge quality change in feta that's from like Bulgaria and Israel. It's going to be really good. Domestic feta. I mean, it depends. Like we actually have a woman who makes goat feta here in town, and it's incredible. The goat feta is so, so good. Anytime you can get the feta in brine, it's gonna be better. It's gonna be creamier. So if it's in a container that has the brine in it, you know it's gonna be higher quality. I find the vacuum sealed fetas can be a little more bitter and drier, but it's just, there's so many different brands and there's so many different, I am actually like pretty unequivocally in love with feta, and you could give me feta from the cheapest feta to the most expensive fine feta and I'm going to be happy with it. I'm not picky about this, and especially in this kind of a recipe, it's not hugely important, but there is a massive difference in all the different makers and countries that prepare it.
I have the feta crumbles. Can I just put those right in there?
Yeah, dump them in. And once we've added our feta, we're gonna mix it in, and then we'll add our lemon juice and just try and mix it evenly. And at this point, if you don't want to use your hands, you can use a spoon or something, or like a spatula to mix it too. I'm just, you know.
So do you want it pretty small, no big pieces of feta, all little?
I mean, I don't think it's too offensive to get a big chunk of feta in your spanakopita, personally. So I would say I wouldn't worry too much about it. I like the variety of like some that's so small that it kind of gets creamy and disappears. And then every now and then you get a big salty chunk. I like that. A combo of textures. And then we'll add in the lemon juice, and then our filling is done. So when you finished your filling, you can go ahead and just clean up everything. Make sure you have a nice clean work surface. Clean your hands. Hands are probably really messy. And then it will be time to get your phyllo dough out of the fridge. Now, I originally had planned this class to be about an hour and a half long. I think it's probably going to be a little longer. We have 15 minutes till we hit the 6:30 mark. So if you have to run at 6:30, you will have all the information you need to continue on the Spanakopita train at another time. But for those of you who can stay, I think it'll be great to make it all together, start to finish. And I apologize for the misestimate there on the time. So I'm going to grab my phyllo dough. I will say that I've tried making the phyllo dough from scratch, and it's really not worth it, in my opinion. It takes so much time and energy, and it's just a lot better when someone does it for you, I think, on this one. So I'm just going to unwrap it carefully. I'll roll it out. There's usually a little bit of tape on it. And then I want to place that damp cloth. So I'm just going to roll it out so it's nice and completely open and flat. And it's important that you have enough room to work here, because the phyllo pastry is going to take up a little bit of space. Mine's looking nice. And for this first one, I just want you guys to watch me make it. So I'm going to grab, I'll wait until you're all looking at me, and then I will make the first one. And then you can go ahead and start making your own.
Gracie, your phyllo looks about twice the size of mine. Mine came with 2 rolls of phyllo that looks a lot smaller than that. So should I use like half the number or half the amount of filling, I guess?
I would, so what I'll be doing is I'll be folding mine in half this
Okay.
way, hot dog style. And so what you can do is stack 2 sheets on top of each other each time you
Okay.
make it.
Okay.
And that should get you where you need to go.
Okay.
Okay, you guys ready for the demo? Okay, so I'm going to grab 1 sheet carefully. Takes a little tender fingertip work here to get the sheets separated sometimes. And I'm noticing that my sheets are actually pretty moist. There's no cracking in them. Oh, actually there is a little bit around the edge. So I will go ahead and use my damp towel. So I got my sheet of phyllo. Everybody can see me? Just watch me on this one. And I'm going to fold it in half lengthwise like so. I'm going to use my towel to keep this nice and moist. Okay. Now, I'm going to get you guys even closer so you can really see what I'm up to here. So I'm going to grab about a half of the cup of my filling. And I'm going to place it. So I'm imagining a triangle shape here. So I've got like 3 sort of, I'm imagining the line is made up of like 3 squares, and I'm picturing a triangle shape, and I kind of form. This might be a little confusing, and I'll try and find better words to explain it, but can you picture a square here? And I've got the triangle. Maybe I'll get it closer to you. So I've got like a triangle of filling, and then I fold up the corner like so. And then I'm going to be kind of flipping and rolling it. So I'm flipping it. So it's a triangle still. And then I flip it this way. And you kind of just keep going all the way down until got a nice little folded triangle of phyllo. I'll do it again for you in case that was confusing. This is going to go on my sheet tray, and I'm going to brush the top with the butter.
Like folding a flag.
Yeah, totally. It's exactly like folding a flag. So I'll show you guys again. If you are like, oh, I got that. I've folded so many flags. I don't need to watch you do that again. By all means, you can get started. So I started by folding it in half, hot dog style, keeping my phyllo covered. Then I grab about a half cup of the filling. And I'm placing it off to one side here. And then I kind of use my hands to form it into a triangle shape. So I have this one corner that's still available here for me to lift it and fold it over. You might need a little towel on hand to wipe your spinachy hands off. Fold it over, and then I'm just going to keep trying to keep that triangle shape, folding until I get to the very end. And if you have a little bit that's stuck out like this, you can just tuck it under and set it down on the tucked side. So it's all tucked in place.
So I had some issues at the store when I went today. They didn't have phyllo dough, but I got like a puff pastry.
Oh. So that's going to be totally different.
Okay.
So what I would do with that is maybe just lay it out and fill the center with, or fill, like make a roll stuffed with the spinach filling and then just like roll it over.
Okay.
Make like a big tube of it, and then you could bake it and slice it up.
Okay.
Or if you want to make smaller ones, you could do little, you could cut it into a square and then fill and then fold it over. So it's a triangle.
It's like two smaller pieces. So I think the roll method will probably be.
And you'll want to, I think, turn your oven up to 400 for the puff pastry.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Grace,
Yeah.
what do I need to do for that?
Did you also get puff pastry?
No, I got phyllo dough. They're smaller than yours and very thin and yeah, pretty dry it seems like.
So make sure you keep, and you might want to just get your cloth damp and leave it over it for a minute if it's crackling and falling apart in your hands.
Yeah.
Just leave the damp cloth over it for a couple minutes so that it can absorb some of that moisture and like get a little easier to handle.
Okay.
And then if yours are like half the size of mine, instead of doing the fold in half lengthwise, you'll just lay two pieces on top of each other.
Gotcha. Okay.
Gracie, are you spreading the butter as you place them, or are you doing it all at the end?
I'm going to do it all at the end.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, but that's like not, you can kind of do whichever way you prefer on that one. It doesn't hurt it to do the butter earlier. I'm just like in the zone, in the folding zone right now. Is anybody else struggling with their phyllo? It was so sad that day that one of the students had put her phyllo over the heater and it was just falling apart, crumbling. And she was in the middle of her midterms at grad school and she had a total breakdown with the phyllo pastry and like left the class and I just felt so terrible.
So Gracie, my phyllo is like Melissa's. It's smaller and I'm using two pieces, but it's not nearly as long as yours. So my folding in triangles there's not enough to fold in all the triangles. So I'm just sort of folding it in packages. I'm assuming it'll taste just as good.
Yeah, what I would do in your case is make smaller ones so you can fold them more. Does that make sense? Add a little less filling so they're smaller in size. So
I would say that the length of my phyllo is about 2/3 of yours.
Yeah, so it's still going to taste good. It just won't have as many flaky layers.
What I did, because I totally misunderstood what you meant to do, Gracie, is I still folded mine in half lengthwise like a hot dog. And then I just used a 1/4 cup of filling and I still folded it up in triangles and it has lots of layers and it's just little.
Perfect. That's great. That's more like a snack spanakopita as opposed to
I'll just eat a ton of them.
Exactly. That's awesome. That's a great idea. Just go for smaller so that you get maximum flaky layers. Does that make sense?
I'm also on the puff pastry train. So should I I have squares. Should I do like the center third as much filling as I can put in? Or
yeah, I mean, if you want it to be closed, yeah, you're not going to be able to add that much filling probably to close it well. You could bake them open as well. You could just put a dollop of the filling on it and bake it just flat and it'll puff up around where you put the filling.
Cute.
It might seem a little dry on top, but the egg should keep it nice and moist.
Okay.
And then if there's any exposed pastry that isn't covered with the spinach, because you want to leave some around the edges so it kind of allows the puff pastry to do its puffing. You can brush that with a little bit of whisked egg yolk and it'll get really glossy and pretty.
Okay.
Yeah. So you can choose closed or open. Now, when you're placing them on the sheet tray, you don't have to worry too much about crowding them. Like this is what mine's looking like so far, because they're not going to really expand outward. They will puff up a little bit, but they're not going to expand out. Now, once your sheet tray is full, these are going to bake for about 20 to 30 minutes. The longer you bake them, the crunchier they're going to be. So it's a matter of preference. If you like yours a little more tender, a little less crunchy, then the 20 minutes is going to be perfect. If you like them really, really crispy, crunchy, more like 30 minutes when they're really golden brown is going to be the way to go. Now, if you decide to freeze some tonight, they will definitely take 30 minutes to bake from frozen, 30 to 35 minutes to bake them from frozen in the future.
So I'm not sure. I mean, I guess you can see mine. Should I like pinch the ends of these since I have the pastry? I just did rolls.
Yeah, I think you could just bake them as is. Some of the filling might spill out a little bit in the oven, but I think it'll still be really good. If you want to try and close it, you can, but I don't think it'll hurt I've never made this filling with puff pastry before, but I don't see why it wouldn't be really delicious. It's going to just be way more buttery, you know?
Oh. And then I just brush the butter on top of these now.
I wouldn't brush the top of those with butter. Those are like 60% butter. So no, that's an exaggeration, but they are like 30% butter. So I would not add any more butter. If you want to brush them with a little egg wash, if you wanted to whisk up an egg and brush them with that and sprinkle a little salt and pepper over the top, you can even cut a few little slits in the top to let the air kind of steam through it.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm getting spicy. But not too much, right?
Not too much what?
Nope, sorry, that was us.
No worries. When I'm brushing the top of the Spanakopita with butter, I am pretty generous with the butter. I like to make sure I get it all over all the sides, not to be shy.
So I always thought that when you make something with phyllo dough that every layer has to be brushed with butter. So it's like a revelation to hear that that's not the case, and I'm really excited.
Yeah, you can. It's just very labor intensive. Like when I make baklava, I do brush butter in between every layer of the phyllo. But with this, I think that because of all the cheese and then the butter on top, it just doesn't need the extra butter. It's really good. It makes it a little lighter and you can eat more of them that way, which is kind of my goal. I think it turns out really nice. Excuse me. So I'm just finishing my last Spanakopita for my first tray. And then I'll probably be making a whole second sheet tray worth of Spanakopita.
How many do you have on one tray? It's like a Rubik's Cube.
I'm going to have 8. I'm going to have 8 on one tray. But less is fine. So don't be too judgmental of your sheet tray. So yeah, I'm about to finish this by brushing it with butter, and then I'll sprinkle a little salt on top, and then they're gonna go in the oven. But this is my first sheet tray of Spanakopita. This is what it looks like. Now I'm going to do the buttering. All right. Sprinkle on the top with just a little bit of salt. I like salty things. You don't have to add salt on top. There's quite a bit of salt in these already, but I like salt. And in they go. And I'm going to set them on the middle rack in my oven. You just have to know your oven with this one. If you have a really hot bottom of your oven, you know, you're going to want to make sure that you rotate them. You don't want to burn the bottom. I'm going to set a timer for 20 minutes. Now I'm just going to get to work on my second sheet tray of Spanakopita. And for the people using puff pastry, I'm going to guess it's going to take, usually it'll say on your package, I think they want you to bake puff pastry for like 20 minutes. But the longer you bake it, like I said, with the same with the phyllo, it'll just get crispier. So you're adding a lot of moisture to your puff pastry with this spinach mixture. So I would give it like probably more like 30 minutes.
Great, thank you.
I think this is also a great way to get kids to eat greens. There, as you notice, there's just so many greens in this. This is a pretty freaking nutritious thing to eat. And it's wrapped in a nice pastry shell. So I feel like it's a really good way to get people who don't like vegetables to eat them.
So Gracie, I had a question also. I am in the same boat where my phyllo doesn't look like your phyllo. And so I'm doing the 2 layers and it's much shorter. And so other than even trying the smaller amount of filling, and I can't seem to get a normal triangle.
Okay. Are you folding yours in half?
I've tried both options.
Okay. So I would say try and focus on imagining your piece of phyllo cut into thirds.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, lengthwise it's cut into thirds, and each third is like a little square.
Okay.
And when the square on your furthest right hand side, draw a diagonal line across it.
Yeah.
And put the filling in the bottom left triangle. Mm-hmm. Fill it up and make sure the filling is in the shape of a triangle. Once you place it on there.
Okay. So I think that was probably, because mine just always looks like a rectangle, but now I have it as a square. It's easier.
Yeah. So you're just envisioning the square there, right? And then you're placing the filling in the shape of a triangle, like I just did here. And it's on 1/3 of your pastry. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
And then you're going to fold that corner up and over it, like you're tucking it in. Look at all those beautiful Spanakopita, Anne. I think you could do a little rearranging on your tray to just maybe like.
That's what I was wondering about. So they're not touching.
If you can move them and rearrange them just so they're not overlapping at all. Okay. You really don't want them touching each other.
Okay, will do.
Yeah, but they look great. So once I've tucked that top right side of the triangle over, then I'm grabbing the right bottom corner there to lift it up and fold it to the left. And it's staying in a triangle. And then I'm going to lift the bottom right corner up and over so that it's up on the top left side of that second square that you imagined. Is it working?
It is much better.
Okay,
I
great.
think I was putting my filling in the opposite triangle.
Got it. Yeah, it helps to have that little piece to fold over. This is good. I always love having to like re-describe things and try and teach it better. So appreciate that. Feel like now I can explain it a little more clearly. And unfortunately, phyllo pastry just does not refreeze very well. So if you don't use it tonight or tomorrow, it will probably be too dry and crumbly. Oh, I'm getting hungry.
I was just curious if you have any little go-to snack things or recipes to use up a little bit, you know, like a few pieces of extra phyllo that you didn't use in the recipe.
Yeah. So you probably my go-to is mushrooms, sauteed mushrooms. Just like chopped up sauteed mushrooms, like with a little goat cheese or Parmesan cheese and thyme.
Yum.
And I'll just roll them. I'll just like place it in and fold it in half, place them, or even in quarters, and place it in and roll them up. Brush them with butter. I love mushrooms. I love winter squash too. Like winter squash with feta and pistachios is really good. Or cauliflower, like a curried cauliflower with currants or pine nuts is really good.
Gracie, if you're going to freeze them, do you put the butter on prior to freezing or once you're baking?
No, you put the butter on after. If there's any butter on the parchment before you lay the spanakopita on it, it will stick in the freezer. So you need the parchment to be completely clean if you're planning to freeze them.
Okay.
So Gracie, I'm going to put these in the oven. Is that okay?
Yeah, just set a timer. Yeah, those look better. Next time, try starting in one corner because they're triangle shaped. So if you start in the corner like this, you'll just get a much neater edge.
Got it.
But I think they should be okay.
Okay. Thank you.
No problem. And then just, yeah, set a timer for 20 minutes. Like I said, they'll probably take more like 30 if you like it crunchy. And my stomach is growling right now. I'm like, I am ready for this. So yeah, sometimes people like an appetizer as spanakopita. So I like to eat it. I like to really eat it any way it comes my way. Some people will bake it into a sheet tray and then cut it into sections. So then you would just be laying the phyllo on top of the spinach mixture. And you could even do a layer on the bottom as well. Just depends what you like.
If you were to do that, would you also not butter the layers because of the richness?
If you're doing the sheet tray or like baking it into a pan, I think I would butter the layers more. Because that's every time I've ever done phyllo in a baking dish, I always have buttered the layers in between. And I can't give you a great reason for why right now. But I wish I could, but it's just always the way I do it. It's the way I was taught, but I don't know. I'll have to do some experimentation and get back to you. I just always end up doing these triangle ones because they just give you the maximum amount of like surface area of crunchiness. So I'm almost done with my spinach mixture, and I think I'm not going to get a full second sheet tray. I think I'm going to get about 6 more because I've been filling mine pretty full.
So I have a whole bunch of filling left since I had the puff pastry and I just did the rolls.
Yes.
What can I do with
The
this?
best thing to do with it is to whisk up a bunch more eggs and add them in and bake it into a frittata.
Oh, yes, that is a great idea.
Yes, that is my favorite thing to do with it. It also makes incredible ravioli filling. If you like get the sheets of pasta from Pasta Plus, you can make little spinach raviolis with it, and it's incredible.
So where's Pasta Plus?
Pasta Plus, they sell their fresh pasta at the Kiva and I think at Market of Choice.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll have to check that out. That's a really good idea.
Yeah, and they just sell big wide sheets of pasta. You can cut them into whatever shapes you want. So I'll just make big spinach raviolis with them.
So I just like lay it down and then kind of put like little pockets and then lay another sheet and like cut it out basically.
Yeah, what you got to do is put little circles of the filling and then use your finger to like get a little bit of water around the edges, and then you lay another sheet of pasta on top and kind of press it down to try and get all the air pockets out.
Okay.
And then you cut them into their shapes. And I like to use a little fork to crimp around the edges too.
Okay, great.
But I always, if I ever end up with extra, I always end up like adding it into like doing a scramble or a quiche or a frittata.
Hey Grace, this is Michelle. I'm gonna actually drop off because I have to get to bed.
Yeah.
9 o'clock over here and I have an early morning. So it was wonderful coming to this class and I appreciate you teaching me.
Yeah, thanks for coming, Michelle. And I'm so glad that Carla told you about it. I just love her so much.
It was actually your dad's page that I saw your information on. So that was awesome.
Yep, there goes my dad. He's going to want a commission soon.
Absolutely. All right. Have a great night, everybody.
You too, Michelle. Bye.
Bye.
Gracie, would it be okay to ask you a question about another class?
Sure.
I've signed up for I forget what it's called, but it involved going to a farmer's market and picking whatever is available.
Yeah.
So I'm not there. So will there be a list for people to go to a local farmer's market, or how does that work?
Where are you?
I'm in Novato.
Oh, you're in Novato and you signed up for that class. That is kind of a site specific class, but I will have a grocery list for you. And I do know, like, luckily you're in a place with probably a comparable farmer's market as far as the quality goes. There might be a couple of things like a kind of cheese that we're using that might be hard to find down there, but I'll do my best to come up with good substitutions for you.
Okay, but there'll be a list before that I can take to the farmer's market here?
Yeah, just like I sent this list out a week ago, you'll get a list 1 week before the class. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah.
I had a question about how long will the filling keep if I wanted to make eggs but later in this week?
I would say like 3 days.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I can already tell that I'm going to have leftover filling, and I think I'm going to roll out like a crust, like a rustic crust, and then pile the filling in the middle and then just like pinch the crust up around it like a rustic tart and bake it.
That's going to be great.
Because that seems a lot easier than making ravioli.
Oh, yeah, yeah. The ravioli is if you're like feeling adventurous. But yeah, that's a great, great alternative for that. Absolutely. And I'm actually thinking, because yeah, that class that you're signing up for, the farmer's market class, I was thinking about doing like a herb pie in like a whole wheat crust with our fresh farmer's cheese and like caramelized onions in it.
I'd better sign up for that class.
Yeah. Although I might do a 180 and make sausage cabbage rolls with paprika sauce. I don't know.
Those both sound great.
I like being the cool thing about the farmer's market class is that I get to just go to the market and get inspired by what's there and then make the menu. And it kind of changes based on availability. So the only thing about who said they were, is it Anne? No, it's not.
Yes, it's Anne.
And you're the one in Novato?
Right.
Yeah, so the only thing is that you're gonna be seasonally ahead of us. That doesn't mean that you probably will have access to all the ingredients that we're using, I think. It should be okay. You'll just also have access to things like asparagus and strawberries when we won't see those things for another month.
Oh, okay.
Because seasonally, you guys are just ahead of us. Lucky you.
Well, I really wanted to take that class, and then I saw that it was from the local farmers market, and I wasn't sure, but what you said makes sense. I can do it.
Yeah. And if for some reason you're like, none of those things are here, or I can't find them, I can just refund you, no problem.
No problem. I can make it work. Thank you, Gracie.
Yeah. So I have all my spanakopita in the oven now. So I'm just going to be tidying my kitchen, and I'm going to be hanging out here for another 20 minutes or so until my first round of spanakopita are completely finished, so you guys can see what they look like. But if at any point now you want to unmute, ask questions, talk about any kind of food questions, I am here.
So I still have a bunch that I did not put in the oven yet. Can I freeze those?
Yeah, as long as they're not on a buttered sheet tray.
Right.
You can freeze them.
Okay.
And when you freeze them, you want to freeze them until they're frozen solid. You could do it overnight and then transfer them into like a Ziploc bag or a sealed container once they're nice and firm.
I can't do that now?
No, because they'll smush and they'll stick together.
How about if I do them individually now? I'm traveling. I'm leaving early in the morning.
Yeah, if you do them in individual, I just would worry about them sticking to what they're inside of. But
okay.
Yeah, I think it could work. I just don't want you to get mad at me if it doesn't work.
I won't get mad at you. Thank you.
Okay.
Gracie, you said no buttered tray for freezing. Do you butter the top or no?
Just butter the tops right before you bake them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
I used phyllo dough once before and did something where I did do butter, and it was just such a greasy mess. Is that just too much butter?
What did you make?
It was kind of like a pie thing, where I, wrapped something, but I used multiple sheets and I put butter in between each one.
Do you remember?
And it just was, I don't remember to say. I just remember.
It could be a combination of too much butter in between the layers and also the filling being fatty and rich.
Gotcha.
Could also make it happen. But yeah, you want to be light-handed. I mean, when I make my baklava, I'm actually not that light-handed with the butter. I go pretty hard on buttering in between the layers. I'm pretty generous with it, and it never is a greasy mess. It's always really crispy, light.
Yeah, I don't know what I did, but it was bad. It was a fail.
Oh no. Yeah, so probably a combo of too much butter and maybe a rich, a sort of greasy filling. Yeah, baklava, that's probably maybe one of my all-time favorite desserts. And Hilda taught me how to make it, and she makes you bake it. It takes like a little while to bake because you really want it to dry out. And then you cut it before you bake it. You cut it into the squares you'll eat it.
Pour it.
And then you bake it, and then you pour syrup over it. And the syrup that she uses has orange blossom water in it. And it's just like heavenly. But probably what?
Oh, I was gonna say, we got 4 extra pieces.
Oh. You got anything you could fill them with? Any leftovers in your fridge?
Huh.
You could fill them with even like mashed potatoes and peas with a little curry powder in it, or yeah, you can let any leftover roasted vegetables. Or I ended up with two sheets left over, but I threw them out because I don't really have any leftovers in my fridge right now, and I'm also, you know, it's a sad waste, but I'm okay with it tonight.
I'm the same. I just from being out of town, and there's not much in there.
Yeah.
Oh, you know, though, I made a farro kind of salad. Would that work in it?
Oh yeah, that could be really good. As long as it has enough moisture in it. So like if it has a nice,
It has feta in it.
Oh, that'll be awesome. I might whisk an egg and toss it in there just so it binds and it doesn't crumble out when you bite into it.
Yeah, it's got asparagus and farro and dill and parsley, and basically.
Oh, that sounds wonderful.
Be
Okay, so I'm just checking on my Spanakopita. My first 20-minute timer just went off. And I just want to show you guys what they look like. They would be delicious now, but I want to cook them a little longer. They're starting to turn brown around the edges a little bit. So I'm going to give them another 10 minutes because I want them to be really crispy, crunchy. And I'm noticing that one of mine is kind of exploded open, which is okay. It's totally okay if they explode open a little bit. They'll be the one that you get to eat in the kitchen by yourself. And that just meant that the filling was really tucked in super tightly. And the egg, when it cooks, kind of expands a little bit. So that just means next time you just be a little looser with your tucking. But it seems like no matter how many times I make this, always have at least one that kind of explodes open.
I have extra phyllo and extra filling, and I ran out of sheet trays, and I'm too impatient to like wait to make more. So I just started layering the phyllo in a pie dish, and I'm pouring all the filling in it, and I'm gonna fold it up and put butter with it and cook it like a pie.
Great. That sounds awesome.
It's gonna be an amazing breakfast.
I love that.
Ooh. The salad also had cucumber in it. Is that going to be weird?
That might be a little weird.
I used up all of my phyllo and I still have this much left.
Wow. Did you hear what we were talking about earlier of all the things you can do with the leftover filling?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. Yeah, I don't even know what to tell you. It's like, it could be that we all got sort of slightly different. We were all slightly more or less generous with how we filled them, or our spinach was particularly hard to break down because I ended up with extra phyllo and no filling left. But everybody's kind of ended up with just slightly different.
Okay.
Did you say that once these are baked, they're probably not good to freeze and reheat?
I said once they're baked, they're really good reheated. You can put them in a toaster oven or at your oven, in your own oven at like 350 for 5 or 10 minutes. I usually leave them out on the counter and eat them like room temperature the next day. And I really like that. And sometimes if they're thin enough, I'll just put them into my toaster and put it down and it'll get crunchy again. But sometimes that can get really messy.
But can you freeze a cooked one and then reheat it?
No. No, you can't freeze a cooked one and then reheat it because it'll just burn and then the inside will be frozen.
Okay,
Yeah.
good to know.
Yeah.
I freeze a lot of food because I'm a single person.
Yeah, I relate. Yeah, just freeze them before you bake them is the way to go. So yeah, I'm just waiting for my spanakopita to finish baking. I'm just tidying up my kitchen, getting everything kind of put away, getting really hungry. But at any point, if you want to leave and be on your own spanakopita adventure, you are welcome to go, or you can stay and hang out and ask questions and see the finished product. But like I said, I'll be sending you all a recording along with a little survey to fill out.
Gracie, mine, I think they're done. They look really toasty and brown.
Those look beautiful, Linda.
Well, this one was the first one that was just ended up a packet, but the rest of them, once I started folding it in half and making smaller ones, seemed to be okay.
Those are gorgeous. Honestly, that's the perfect color.
They look
like
delicious. They
yeah.
look, yeah.
And don't forget to drizzle that sauce on them, that yogurt sauce.
Okay. Okay. Yay.
Awesome. Way to go.
And then I've got a sheet pan, a smaller sheet pan in the freezer with some freezing. And then I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. I've still got 10 more on the counter here waiting. I guess I should bake them.
Yeah, up to you. You did a good job. You made a lot of spanakopita.
Maybe I'll freeze those too.
Yeah, it can't hurt. It's a nice present to future you.
The ones that I've done, they're still cooking a bit. However, there's pools of butter.
Pools of butter.
I don't know if you could see here. Hold on.
It's okay. They look really good, actually. Those look pretty close to done to me. And if there's pools of butter, it just means that maybe you brushed a little too much on the sheet tray beforehand, or you got a little heavy-handed when you were brushing them, and it's not really anything to worry about. Wow, Camille, those look so good. The color there is perfect.
There's multiple shapes until I figured out how to roll them, but
yeah, they're still going to be totally delicious.
I have a question.
Yeah, Melissa.
So with my leftover stuff, I made this like pie. I just like layered it all. I sprinkled sesame seeds on top. And then I was just thinking, could I freeze this?
You could totally freeze that.
It's in a buttered pie dish. I already did butter the top with the leftover butter, but I'm thinking.
Yeah, freeze it. It's like, then you could just throw it in the oven.
Okay,
sometime.
cool.
Yeah. Yeah, that'll be great frozen. All right, my first batch is done. They look awesome. Gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. So be careful when they're just out of the oven. I'm sure you don't need me to tell you this, but they're going to be really, really hot. So you want to let them rest for a little bit before you crack them open and devour them and drizzle them with that delicious sauce that you made earlier.
So if we have,
go ahead.
If we have lots of leftover butter, can we chill it?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it'll change texture a little bit. Once butter has been melted and then you re-chill it, it's going to be more solid, less spreadable, but you can cook with it.
Okay.
Yeah. So this is my finished spanakopita here. So that's what they look like. Nice and golden brown all over, crunchy, crispy. I sprinkled a little bit of Urfa chili flake on top of mine just because, just to give it a little something. Like Michelle or Melissa did sesame seeds. That's good too. Salt and pepper are good, but They look good just as is as well. And that's the class, you guys. We're done. So unless anybody else has more questions or concerns.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for coming, you guys.
So, can you look at my pastry?
Oh yeah, for sure.
That looks good.
Yeah, I would rotate it and do another like 6 minutes.
Okay.
6 to 8 minutes. You want it to be more golden brown all over, but it's looking really nice.
Yeah, I was thinking a little bit longer on, but
yeah.
It smells delicious.
Looks beautiful. I like the slits on the top.
Thank you.
Mine are beautiful, but I think they're good.
Let's see. The color looks, I think they look really beautiful. The color on that is awesome.
I didn't figure out the folding part until this sheet. I got better with the folding.
Yes, look at that. Well, it's a class, you know, it's a class, which means that as it goes along, you're going to get better. And the next time
Right.
you're going to do it, you're going to be amazing at it.
Well, my phyllo dough was different than yours. I'm wondering, where'd you get your phyllo dough?
Kiva?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. I went to Market of Choice, and yeah, I mean, it just took a second to figure.
Well, they look really good, Jacob. Those look beautiful, Melissa. Those look great, Ashley.
Yay.
Yeah, Ashley, I might even bake those for 5 more minutes, just because there might be a little raw underneath where the spinach is.
They taste really good. It's,
Oh, okay, they're good to
here's
go.
the bottom of them.
Oh yeah, they're done.
But it's look.
Nice. And I would say another 4 or 5 minutes on
Okay,
those.
great. Great.
Yeah.
Thank
Yeah. Jacob, sorry you glitched out if I missed part of what you said or if you have more questions. You froze
That
up.
was it. The towel trick was great. I don't know if that went through.
Oh, okay, good. I'm glad. Good.
Thank you.
Yeah. Anybody else? Myrna, what's up? What's up? Those look really good to me, Myrna. Those look really beautiful. You're muted, so I can't hear you.
Thank you, Gracie. Good night.
Night.
I said, don't go any darker. I mean, I like them really crunchy.
Then yeah, go darker. They're yours. You can make them however crispy you want. Yeah. It's good, Linda? Yeah, that's what I like to see right there. Yes. Don't forget the sauce.
Mm.
Mm. Mm-mm-mm.
Thank you so much.
Oh, yeah. My pleasure.
Gracie, thank
You're welcome.
Have a good night.
You too. Bye. Ooh, Ashley, look at that.
Yeah, it was good.
Wow, that is like freaking Iron Chef over there.
Yeah. Thank you.
Wow, that is beautiful.
We'll recommend the test pastry. It was successful.
Yes, I love that. Awesome.
Well, thank you for this class. It was amazing.
You're welcome. Bye.
Yeah.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.